Game begin.
Hello and welcome back to the Spike Colony podcast. Everyone's got that dog in them. Michael J., how was your week?
Like my Premodern week?
I don't know. You can tell me about any details of your week.
I started a Substack last week. So I went to Mexico last week. That was pretty fun. I went to Mexico and I accidentally engaged in retail arbitrage. So we were walked by a Lego store and my sister's likes to buy things and she bought
Many of us do, yeah. Buying things is a great
random Lego stuff in an airport, right? So she bought over $100 of Lego toys in the airport, and as a result, she got an exclusive Lego that you only can get in airport retail. And I looked it up, and this is it's going for about $180 on eBay because you literally can only get them in Lego retail in
airports. Because it's an airplane. It is a Lego airplane that you can get at airports. For kids.
Yeah, so it's whatever you do, don't open. And Legos are pretty expensive, right? So, that I wrote a Substack because I didn't know what else to do. Then I've been meaning to write a Substack anyway. So I was like, if you go to the airport, you spend $100, you get $100 worth of Lego, first of all. So if you like Lego, you like making them, you can make Harry Potter Universes Beyond or Star Wars Universes Beyond or Transformers Universes Beyond Legos. Or I guess Legos that they made, but why would you do that when there are, Universes Beyond Legos? And then if you spend $100, you get a Lego that they made, which is an airplane, which is worth $180. So it's super free. It's not that you get $180 for $100, which is pretty cool, but you also get $100 for the Lego. So,
yeah,
And
you could choose the most resaleable Legos, maybe, and then just all upside.
Well, these are all stupidly collectible for whatever reason. So, I guess they're just...
So you're investing. Yeah. You can keep all your toys sealed away in a box.
I do also think it's weirdly just small investments. I don't think it scales. If I go in, that's $1,000. I don't think they give pen. Yeah,
at every airport. Yeah, but if you want a cool $80 upside.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I had an ex-boss who's mad into Lego, and people talk about Legos, and he's just one of the ways that the difference between somebody who knows about Lego is if they say the word Legos. And so he's as a Magic the Gathering person, probably understand also by how people talk if they understand what we're talking about or not.
Mike, you can't whisper with whatever headset you're using. It's too
okay. He said one of the ways you can tell the difference between someone who knows about Lego or not is if they say Legos, right? So if you say Legos, you're not in the in group. And he said, as a Magic the Gathering, person, I probably could listen to things people said and then also identify that they're not in the in.
Yeah.
So
Lego, plural for Lego. Yeah.
Yeah. Lego is Lego. That's what I did recently. So if you want to check it out, I have a Substack, which I don't remember what my Substack address is. Probably Five of Flores.
Figure it out. You're all smart and have internet connection. It's probably on your Twitter account.
A lot of people are talking about it. So, come up to me in real life, I read your Lego arbitrage thing. It was really cool. And I was I was happy that people were coming up and doing that. And I was oh, maybe I should just, what should I write about? And I came to the conclusion, maybe I would just write tournament reports for all of the in real tournaments that I play. But not starting this week because I'm probably going to write a cool stuff article about it. But I play 3 tournaments a week some weeks. And so I'm maybe I'll just do small tournament reports.
Yeah, well, for Premodern, we do have spikecolony.com, which is, could conceivably become a repository for pyramid reports.
I mean, I don't know, man. I have Fetchland and Five of Flores and Top 8 Magic and all these sites that I made that I'm still paying domain fees for that have not been updated in quite some time.
I used to do a little Nintendo Wii arbitrage with my dad. We would go to the mall really early in the morning, and I would bring a friend, and everybody can buy one Nintendo Wii, and then we would sell it, or he would just sell it for us on eBay, and then we would keep the extras and go buy Magic cards. Before scalping consoles was basically one of the most sinful practices a person could do. But
it used to be the case that there was some version of people doing binder grinding, and binder grinding was considered like a noble endeavor, at least by some people.
You mean just like trying to trade up into duels and stuff? Yeah.
I think that there's two macro things that you can do about binder grinding. One of them is just basically trade at fair prices, right? So I'll give you $10 for the goods, you give me $10 for the goods. But my $10 for the goods are maybe like cards that are about to rotate out, and your $10 for the goods are dual lands, So I've been on the wrong side of that. I once traded my best remaining Tundra, because I had 5 Tundras. So I just traded my best Tundra for 4 Geist of St. Traft and a Noble Hierarch, which was a fair trade on dollars at the time.
This was to Raptor or
to Josh Ravitz.
Ravitz, yeah.
Because I had moneyed with his Geist of St. Trafts like 4 SCG events in a row, and he's just like, you just always borrow my Geist of St. Traft when you just buy them from me. Just like, I'll just trade me this, and it was literally a fair trade in sense.
Yeah, I'm told that Ravitz made a hobby out of this this dual land arbitrage. Yeah.
Well, it was back to fetch land arbitrage. So Ravitz figured out right when like Arid Mesa, like that cycle of fetch lands was like cycling out of standard, they were becoming very not popular, right? So I think they probably had a retail value of about $5 at the time, right? So he traded for every Scalding Tarn, Arid Mesa that he could at present declining prices. So I think like in standard, they were worth $5, right? So they're declining because they're about to rotate out of standard. But he realized they were going to be all-time valuable to own for multiple formats.
At this point, is Modern even a format?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to put it this way. Roman's tried real hard to get me back into Modern. He's sending me lists. He's like, Mengu keeps spyboing with these burn decks, and you watch Mengu's videos. I love Mengu as a streamer. Obviously, he won the most lucrative tournament of all time, but he does not play burn as well as I do at all. And he's like, if Mengu could do these 5-0s with these suboptimal lists, and he's missing these lines, you could certainly win an RCQ. But I'm looking at like the Modern decks. I don't know what any of them do. I'm like, is this even true? Am I going to become frustrated in life? But apparently, because they banned Flash, there's just a window for burn again. And so
I was just saying that I was just asking if the fetch lands were legal, like if Modern was a format you could play fetch lands in at the time of this fetch land arbitrage.
Okay. I think it existed already.
Like Zendikar
Pro Tour.
Yeah.
First Modern Pro Tour was 2011. I believe after I had won with Blue Red Split Your Twin in Standard. The first Modern Pro Tour was won by Blue Red Split Your Twin in Modern, if I recall. So it was after that, I think in 2011. And I don't remember when fetchlands were in Standard, what year. It must have been around 2009, because that's, I think we had fetchlands in Nile Lightsaber. That sounds right to me.
Oh, yeah. That's all very confusing to me from a timeline standpoint.
Well, this is a
pre-modern
podcast.
Yeah, I stopped playing Magic in like 2006, 2007. So like the last sort of sets I like laid eyes upon were like Time Spiral and Lorwyn, and then like Alara or whatever. I don't know. It's weird because I would go play Magic online. But in any case, what we wouldn't do to have all the fetch lands to fill out our multicolor mana bases in pre-modern, but such is life, doesn't bother me too much. I love a good multicolor deck. I play pretty much every deck with all the colors and get by just fine. You can do a lot of damage with a City of Brass, and not just to yourself.
Well, speaking of which, I played against a fair number of City of Brass this week. The most recent episode that we did together, we had arguably the greatest luminary in all of pre-modern, Martin Berlin himself, a United Kingdom champion with the last name Berlin, who is not from the United Kingdom.
Nor Germany.
He played, yes, nor Germany. He played that Naya 3-color Terrageddon list with Wild Mongrel. And if you look at it kind of from the most superficial standpoint, it has main deck Pyroclasm and main deck Earthquake, and kind of Wild Mongrel is a combo with your opponent's smaller creatures, Pyroclasm and Earthquake. I think that's like a very...
I love how you put that. That implies that the combo is your opponent provides smaller creatures, and then you provide a Wild Mongrel, and then a Pyroclasm combines with the Wild Mongrel. Some people
starting the card.
Some people are putting 12/12s on the battlefield, putting Opalescence and Paralyzed Wave on the battlefield. But if your opponent has a lot of small creatures and you have Wild Mongrel and Pyroclasm, you're a real happy camper.
I got to tell you, my Wild Mongrel, Pyroclasms, and Earthquake spent a lot of time in the sideboard this week. But that is the superficial.
Yeah, because you didn't play against Elves, Goblins, Moneyball Black.
So I wanted to, even if we hadn't had Martin on, that was the next deck I wanted to play. I wanted to honor. The one deck I do want to play also, Mitch, I might play next week, because just to skip, I skipped League last week, which is a dumb move, because I could have played conceivably, but I'm going to Mexico tomorrow. So I didn't play League, and then I had fallen to 8th place, tied for 8th place in a 3-way tie with Andy and Lan.
Dangerous.
Not a great place to be. Yeah. So, but I 3-0'd, so I'm like in 4th right now. So I think I have like a little give in the next 2 or 3 weeks before the league is up. So I've been meaning to play your quote unquote perfect GAT deck, but I was like, I don't know if I can play perfect GAT at this level of tightness, but I think I probably have enough give that I can do it this week. Anyway,
I actually don't think it's that hard to play for an instinctual like control player, where like all you try to do is like get your removal and your counter magic to like hit the right stuff. Because I feel like that is a thing that you're into.
I watched your Birds of Paradise Terrageddon video this week. Or I don't know if you had like 3 videos about that. I watched one of them. And I inferred from that video that you thought that Terrageddon was better than GAT.
Oh, I mean, what had happened was that I was like, Terrageddon potentially is going to perform better for me than GAT does. Basically, I was like playing a challenge, and I'm like, I've played, obviously like, 50 or 100 matches of GAT recently, and I have like a pretty healthy win rate, but I've played a smaller sample of Terrageddon, and I had like a ridiculous win rate, like where it was like 2 4-1s and a 5-0, right? So I was just like, if you just look at the percent win rate, you could plausibly say, Lanny, this Terrageddon list that you have is better than your GAT list, to which I would say, geez, I hope not.
1 sec, sorry.
So at least for the listeners, I'll go on this rant. I'm open to the idea that Terrageddon could be better than GAT, even though that would be like a reversal of everything that I believe in. However,
well, everything you believe in would include playing Mox Diamond again. That's everything you believe in.
Right? Yeah. So 90% of what I believe in, yeah.
So you're still, like, I get it. So, okay, so let me just cut ahead to what I did this week. I went 3-0-6-1, and the 1 was actually probably an asterisk loss. I'll go over this with you because I don't know that I would have lost if I knew any better. Which is close to a 3-0-6-0. And people ask me what I thought about Terrageddon, and I'm like, well, I think this is kind of fundamentally a bad deck.
Yeah.
3-0, almost 6-0. Thank you. And we can go over that. So first round I played against Chris Cruz, who I didn't really understand what he was playing. I thought he was playing GAT. It turned out he was playing Espertong. He made an on-table mistake in game 1. I made a horrendous on-table mistake in game 2. So I sent a Treetop Village into his glory, right? Neither of us is doing anything. Like, he's casting a bunch of AKs, but he's just not developing, right? He just doesn't have it, right? So I'm really not developing. I just have, like, air in my hand, and I send the Treetop Village because I'm like, that glory might race me, but I've done a bunch of damage to Chris, so I think he'll block, right? So he blocks it, and then he plays a Tog, right? I plow it. He thinks like a long time and doesn't exile anything from his graveyard. But he's playing off the top of his deck despite having cast like 3 AKs, right? Then like I'm just doing nothing. he plays another Tog with 6 mana in play. And I've drawn a Swords at this point, and I Swords again without thinking about it, right? And he looks at his graveyard to count how many lands he has, and then doesn't glory.
Right.
So like I punted, and he could have just gloried me and probably killed me there, right? But and I asked him, I'm like, as soon as I did it, I knew I'd made a horrible mistake, but I couldn't check because that would have tipped him off that the glory was in the graveyard, right?
Sure.
And then
it's a real good magic getting played here.
Yeah. So in his head, he's just checking for how many lands because he might want to bin for Terrageddon. And at this point, I think he's playing Groatog. So if you're playing Groatog, like and he's played like Meddling Mage, I think. So he's not playing your deck. So I'm like, he should probably just eat like all of his graveyard to gain a bunch of life, and he doesn't. Because later I found out he was just playing a Tog deck, so he had to get more Togs. But yes, I punted horribad in game 2, and ended up getting away with it. But it's one of those things like I also think that his glory was foreign, and because I'm like, what card is that? And he's like, oh, glory, and I'm like, oh, I know what that does. So round 2, I played against Will Ready, and these are the cards he played against me. Oh, no, round 2, I played against a kind of a weird deck, which was Stoic Champion Cycling.
Okay. Did it have Fluctuator?
It did, which I did not know that deck plays Fluctuator, right? So game 1, he just plays Stoic Champion. I played 2 Call of the Herds. We're back and forth. The Stoic Champion can beat my Call of the Herds, but I positioned a situation where I can get in with 2 Call of the Herds in play, and 2/3 beats a 2/2 in that spot, right? So I did that. And then I cited out all my artifacts and enchantment destruction for like Pyroblasts or whatever. And then he played a second turn Fluctuator against me. I'm like, I'm cooked. But I had to plow for the only Stoic Champion that he drew. And I was able to win like the regular way. But I definitely did not play correctly. I didn't know that deck had Fluctuator. Is this a known deck?
No, but if you have Stoic Champion in your deck, you should probably have Fluctuator, right?
I mean, he had like all the cool cards, right? Like, for example, he cleared my Sylvan library, right?
I love a clear.
Yeah. So also, like, it was super annoying.
Did he have the other cycling lands, like the two to cycle ones?
Drifting Meadow, yes.
Yeah, that's like the chip off that there's Fluctuator, right? Because you would always play Secluded Step in.
Yeah. So it was actually pretty cool. He Sabos webbed me when I needed to draw a land, and then I drew a land. It was a rich port, and I needed to cast a Call that hurt under pressure.
Well, playing Sabos Web in a cycling land deck is a little rich.
Look, man, he got me. But draws a card. Then round 3, I played against Will Ready, and all 3 of the opponents I played against were playing wild Meddling Mage decks with like City of Brass. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe my second round opponent, Sam Feltman, did not have City of Brass. I don't know. Is that kind of like a lot of basic? But Will played. These are the cards he played against me in game 1. Kyrian Dryad, Meddling Mage, and I think Gush. Maybe or maybe not Gush, but certainly those first 2. What deck do you think he's on?
Well, those are Rotar cards. But the text that you sent me said that he had Mom and Duress.
Yeah.
Which are not Rotar cards.
He goes, Landmark's Mom Duress you, lets me keep the Pyroblast in my hand.
Yeah.
Takes my Sylvan library. I tap out for something on turn 2, and he goes, Dreadnought Disciple with a Mom in play.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have no. He let me keep the Pyroblast, which is rich. Okay.
That's a good play. It's like Mike is not gonna see this coming.
Yeah, so I tap out on turn 2 for whatever, like nonsense, like I don't know, like not a seal, right? We took my Sylvan. I don't remember oh no, I was gonna play my Gemstone Mine on turn 2, but instead I played like a land that can't produce red because I'm like, oh, that'll need Pyroblast this turn. I did something else, right? And he just hops me, and so that was the asterisk game because I did not know he was Dreadnought. In game 3, I drew both of my Aura of Silences and was able to manage the game pretty well. The one thing I would say about the Savage Bastard Terrageddon deck that I played was I only played against decks with funky mana bases, meddling mage, probably gushes, type decks, all 3 rounds. Which I guess are on the rise. Like I watched that match that you lost on camera at LobsterCon. I think people are like just super into these decks. Like people are like vision charming themselves, like all over the place against me, for various effects. And I think like those are on the rise as a result of that deck. People think it's really cool. And
yeah, shout out to Nate Gates and his Terravor Threshold Armageddon Dreadnought deck.
Did the deck that you played against have Mom and Duress?
Yes.
Okay, so
it might not have had Mom, but it had Duress out of the sideboard. It was a wild one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, dude. I thought he was playing Growatog, and then in game 2, he's just like Mom Duress, Phyrexian Dreadnought, and I was annihilated. Right, so,
I mean, Mom Meddling Mage is the BK original. Like that's the solution, baby.
So, yeah, but not with Dreadnought, right? Like that's what makes it.
Why not? Great. Yeah, just toss Dreadnought. You can put Dreadnought in anything.
Yeah, but I mean, like the champ Brian Galata was playing a similar deck with Predict. He's like Memory Lapse predicting. So yeah, people are playing wild stuff right now with
the Memory Lapse Predict thing. I've been very, or just Predict in general. I've been like trying to figure out. Like I built some decks that like tried to make sure that it had Mary's Guile. Like if you want Predict to always be on, you kind of like the best way to do it is probably having Mary's Guile and Sylvan Library in your deck, or like Scroll Racks. But the thing is, like those cards are really bad in multiples. So but they do prevent you from drawing multiples.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the thing. Obviously, I was addicted to trying that stuff. I mean, first of all, I played Memory Lapse Foreshadow back in Visions Constructed. Okay. So, Ties, Memory Lapse Foreshadow. Like, that format didn't have Factor Fiction, right? If you want to play Blue-White Control, this is a way you might want to do it. I think there was also Portent. We could also Portent Foreshadow and Tithe, so that had a pretty robust card advantage engine, but I think the best decks were like black aggro, maybe black aggro with red or blue, and then mono red aggro for a while, and then later just mono blue. So I think like a dirtily blue white deck is just not well positioned, even if it had a cool draw engine, including Tithe. But I was totally, when Predict stopped printed, I tried a lot of Predict decks in Standard with Memory Lapse Predict, Portent Predict, whatever. And it never really got there for me, in part because you just dedicate so much of your deck on cards that are capable of giving you a slight advantage, but require an enormous amount of deck building costs, right?
Yeah.
Like contrast Predict with accumulated knowledge. Like they cost the same amount of mana, right? Is Predict ever that much better than accumulated knowledge? Like, I mean, ever that much better than accumulated knowledge?
Yeah, quite rarely. I mean, I actually found this in, I guess, I mean, it's hard to describe how I approach sort of cantrip theory, but I guess the bottom line of it is that if the card in your deck wants to draw cards and it's in your hand, then you just want to cast it as soon as you can, right?
Well, you can't do that with Predict.
Yeah. Instead of Predict, you're just like waiting to like combine it with another card selection card so that you can just like do. And I'm just like, look, I've come around. You've always been a big Impulse hater, and I've always liked Impulse. And I really, really underrated the idea of like, well, if you have a deck with like lots of Impulse and AK, you're just going to be holding those cards, and you don't want to be holding those cards. Like you just want to, like, even if you're casting Sleight of Hand into Sleight of Hand, you're still basically happier to do that because you can spread it out some different turns. You can play a Premodern and a Sleight of Hand.
I came this close to cutting the 4 AKs out of my Lobster Dreadnought deck, replacing them with 2 Impulses, a Flash of Insight, and like another 1 mana cantrip. Because I just think back, like, I lost that match to Claire. My keep was so good. I played so well.
Yeah, you couldn't AK into land. Yeah.
If my AKs were Impulses, I would have won that match by a mile. Like, and I'm just like, ugh. If I just replace one of them with a Flash of Insight, it's actually get most of the way back.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a great observation, because in a 17 land deck, like impulse for your land drop is going to be something that's much, much more important than AK for your like AK for value, because like, you know, you need what you need. I also want to add that I think that like 3 Flash of Insight in the 75 has for a very long time been enough card advantage for the Dreadnought deck.
Well, that's true. So I was angling, I think, wrong. Based on things that I didn't really know. Well, some things I knew and some things I didn't know. One of the things that I knew from testing Dreadnought against Moneyball Black was that if I drew 2 AKs, I would tend to beat Moneyball Black. And people thought that Moneyball Black had a huge advantage, but I bothered to test the matchup. And I was like, oh, if I draw 2 AKs, I have enough card advantage. I can get out of this. So that was part of it. And then the second part of it was I had an enormous matchup advantage in the Dreadnought Mirror. Like,
yeah.
And so I was just like, I think
the AK Dreadnought against not AK Dreadnought is, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's going for AK. Don't get me wrong. I think like a creative thing would just be like play like 3 Flash of Insight across the 75 and then just play a Deep Analysis in your sideboard. And you like pretty much, because the Deep Analysis is like the first 3 AKs in one card, right?
So here's the thing, right? You have players like Dave Kaplan who have gone into like Intuition in their Dreadnought deck and then don't have AK. You know, like that's just, it's crazy to me. And, you know,
I mean, Intuition for like, cause he has 2 Flash of Insight as a main deck. So he can
Intuitioning for Dreadnoughts.
Yeah.
Dreadnought, right? So,
well, you could, I mean, the AK deck could do that. You can Intuition for whatever you want.
So long story short, maybe I'm overrating this one particular loss in my tournament, right? But, you know, I was undefeated at the time. And then I ended up not making day 2, right? Like, you know, wheels kind of fell off later. But, you know, you pointed out stuff like if I just had Hydroblast instead of 4 Essence Slayer that won my Goblins match, like, you know, like Essence Slayer doesn't do anything against a Goon. I would have just trivially blasted the Goon and gone off, you know, with protection. You know, so I think like a lot of the slight metagaming I made to the arguably the best archetype, some of the things that probably made me successful in some matches, and then were the things that made me, you know, win on the fundamentals.
I mean, that's like exactly the same spot that I was in. Like, I had this deck that like was never going to lose a match to Dreadnought in like a billion years. Like my Dreadnought win rate I've never lost to a single match to Dreadnought with the Guy's Blessing version of Yat. And I did not play Dreadnought before I was eliminated from top 8 contention. So it was just kind of like, you know, so and I played against Replenish, you know, and I guess I was eliminated from, well, okay, the list of decks that eliminated me from top 8 contention were collectively Landstill, Burn, Terrageddon, Dreadnought.
Wait, pause for a second. You just tossed your Burn matchup, right? You're just like, fuck.
No. I had a great. I have like, this version of the deck has a better Burn matchup than the previous version of the deck, like the Mox Diamond version, like 100% based on the fact that it just runs 4 Psychotalk, and it's just very easy. And then also, there's like basically feels like 2 things happened. One was like the Burn deck started playing Pyrostatic Pillar and or Goblin Cadet, and so I have like 3 Fire Ice, 4 Psychotog, and I board in 3 to 4 Hydroblast, and so you never deal any damage to me with creatures, and then if you don't deal damage to me with creatures, like what do you have left? You're just trying to deal 20 damage to burn spells. Like, okay, well, I also have counter spells, and Hydroblast are still also good against burn spells, and then also like Psychotog just kills you on turn 6. You know, in general,
yeah,
so it stops all of your land offense and then kills you, you know, as soon as I find a Gush.
I do think that I really like your 4 Psychotog configuration. There's a lot of things to like about your deck. I wish I could play it. I don't know if I have 4 Psychotogs. I gave 2 of them to you.
I thought I gave you yours back, but regardless, they give yours back. I have 2 play sets now.
So I do want to play that. That's on my list of decks I want to play. But anyway, just to get back to this tournament, you know, people were really interested. Bill Ellis also played the Wild Mongrel version. He lost to SWB in the second round. So the undefeated players were Rich Busey on Burn 3060. So I could have played against Rich. I don't know if he played against in the last round. I could have played against SWB on Stasis. In round 2, he beat Bill Ellis, who was playing a very similar deck to mine. I don't know, like not same 75 because I changed Martin's side more. And then Brian Bellotta and Lan drew. I don't know if they intentionally drew or unintentionally drew. Brian was playing like a...
They certainly didn't intentionally draw at League, like for no upside, right?
So Brian was playing a wild deck with Predict.
Yeah.
And
was it a blue-white deck?
I think it was, I don't know his entire deck. It was probably like 47 colors and all the cards that want to push me. I think it was fans. Okay. When I was looking over and I was like still happy because Brian is this player who prior to LobsterCon was like so down on the format and he's just like, it's just all meta decks, etc. And then he almost wins the tournament and then just like, the card, not such a bad format after all. Analytically should be banned if you take,
Definitely analytically should be banned. Keep that shit out of this podcast, okay? We don't analytically anything, okay?
I agree. Mass is dead. So, and then he's just playing this wild deck almost 3-0 league. And then Leando's playing I think 4-color Oath Ponza, either 3 or 4-color Oath Ponza. I believe he was playing a base green-white Oath Ponza, but also Vindicate. So I don't know if he's 3 or 4 colors. Vindicate seems like a pretty good upgrade at the 3,
Yeah, Vindicate seems like a good upgrade to Winter's Grasp. Yeah. So assuming that you can cast the card, it's a good Winter's Grasp upgrade.
So I thought that I didn't know what my Brian matchup would be, although I beat only decks like that this week. I think I was probably pretty behind against Lan, and I was probably like very behind against SWB. But I got yet another Meddling Mage Gush deck in the last round. Are those decks good or bad against Terrageddon? They seem pretty good for me.
So it's complicated. Like, basically, in the history of Grotog, I have never felt unfavored against a Terrageddon opponent. Mostly because you could, like in the very beginning, it was like you would just Meddling Mage Swords to Plowshares, and then you would put a 7/7 on the table, right? And like,
what is a 7/7?
Either Korean Dryad or Psychotalk, right? So like, consider a game that just goes Meddling Mage, Naming Plow, Korean Dryad, and then for the next 4 turns, you're putting just endless +1/+1 counters on
power.
Yeah. And then if that doesn't work, you play Psychotog and you exile all the lands from your graveyard, and then you just counterspell all the Terravors. So then what's the opposing deck now? Oh, by the way, during this time, Grotog was also a Mox Diamond deck. So the Terrageddon opponent would never be able to activate Weathered Wayfarer profitably, or cast Armageddon profitably.
Or you could just gush, right, to get out from Weathered Wayfarer.
Exactly. So now, okay, you're like, Lanny, well, your deck doesn't run, your deck doesn't run these cards anymore. Now it's just like, okay, well, I have 4 Psychotogs, and Psychotog's just like an amazing card. So, and I just have more, like, I'm going to...
This heads up very good against Terravor because of its ability to eat lands out of your own grave.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that it'll 1v1 all your opponents, Terravors, Elephant Tokens, Werebears, Nimble Mongoose, Wild Mongrel, like whatever they have just gets stopped by a single Psychotog. And
well, you can not cast Sword Splashes, right?
And,
like that.
Well, no. Even if you can cast Sword Splashers, that's the beauty of having 4 Psychotogs, right? It's like, I'm just going to draw more Psychotogs than you have Sword Splashers. Now, granted, if the Terrageddon opponent is like, okay, well, to hell with all this, I'm just going to board in 4 Pyroblasts, I'm going to kill all your Psychotogs, then it kind of goes back and forth. But it just felt like the Grotog deck would find all of its cards much faster than the Terravor deck could, and...
But one of those decks has Sleight of Hand, Hornet, and Gush, and the other one has...
just Sylvan Library.
Windswept Heath is its card selection card.
So it's felt good. Now, when you expand that to, like, our other Meddling Mage Gush decks good against Terrageddon, and it'd just be like, okay, well, is Meddling Mage a good card against Terrageddon? It can be, right? If you have 2 Meddling Mages down and one is naming Plowshares and the other is naming Terravor, then your opponent's deck can't really do anything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Chris mentally maged me for Terravore when I had two cards in it. They were both Terravores.
Yeah.
That was kind of some BS.
That's quite good. I mean, but the thing is that this is always changing, right? So now the Terra Vortex have like Pyroclasm and Earthquake. So that if you have a Meddling Mage plan, you also have to have a backup plan for if they have Pyroclasm and Earthquake. But, I will say this, like, if you can put a reasonable creature on the battlefield, that is any creature that is like can tussle with an elephant token, and then you have a mix of counterspells and removal such that like they never can successfully have a Terravore, you're going to be in good shape. And then if you have a mana base that gets wrecked by a Wasteland and Rishon Port, and you can't establish anything, and like they either keep you under their thumb and hit you till you die because you have no defense, or you can't stop a Terravore. There's a game where I was playing Grota against Terrageddon on YouTube, and I cast Sleight of Hand, and the Sleight of Hand showed me an AK when I had 2 AKs in my graveyard, or a Swords to Plowshares, and we're like 100 turns into the game, and I'm like, AK time, baby. Take the AK for 3, draw 3 lands. My opponent plays an 11/11 Terravore, and I'm like, I
think you kind of have to take the AK, but like one of the reasons you have to take the AK is if you don't, that AK is now in the bottom of your deck.
Yeah.
That's the reason you take the AK.
I mean,
you lost, right?
The AK was really tasty. I'm like, I have so many outs here. I just need a Psychic Attack. I just need a Plowshares. Like, but Terravore's one.
But would the game have just ended if you took the Swords of Plowshare?
Yeah. I mean, it was like their third Terravore, right? It's just like that kind of thing. But
doesn't matter.
But regardless, I mean, Gush, Meddling Mage, Weathered Wayfarer, like I think everyone's trying to build a Terrageddon deck that is not green. Basically, like Andy has said this always. He's like, the best Weathered Wayfarer deck is probably not even green. I haven't figured it out, but I'm gonna figure out. Brian told me the same thing. He's like, we're gonna have this deck. It's gonna have Weathered Wayfarer. It's gonna have Mox Diamond with your Weathered Wayfarers, of course.
I mean, didn't you trophy a league with a 62 card Slow King deck?
Yeah. Well, it's Esper Bob's, which is a name that managed to stick. But that deck had, okay, so I mean, now we're just veering topics, but on the topic of, can you play a deck that has Mox Diamond, less than 26 lands, and Weathered Wayfarer? And my answer to that question after playing more of that deck is just like a resounding no. Because like what happens is you're like, oh,
part of your combo breaks down.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I've got a 20 land deck. I have all these extra Wayfarers, which I can count at lands. Like, let me tell you about how vulnerable Weathered Wayfarer is compared to land tax, right? Like,
most the one that sometimes does have an ability. You mean?
Yeah. So yeah, I'd get a lot louder.
Let me tell you about my opponent playing a first turn Goblin Lackey.
Yeah.
So that Weathered Wayfarer has a job.
Yeah. And which is to eat the Gem Palm Incinerator, and then you just die. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, like, this is why this is why the Mox Diamond thing just kills me, because they're like, guys, I have this sick combo. It's like, we go Mox Diamond, Weathered Wayfarer. And like, my opponent goes like Plowshares. It was like, okay.
I've played Terrageddon 3 times. Okay. The one time before LobsterCon, I was like, this is my tune-up. If I win this league, I'll probably play this at LobsterCon. I was really excited. I was going to play Match Like Sideboard. And it was, the first trophy I'd gotten on the season was with it. I went 1-1-1. And I'm like, this deck sucks. I hate the vulnerability to Sabba's Web. Like, that's the thing that kills me. Like, every other aspect of the deck, I can kind of, I'm like, I can figure this out. You have good cards, I had good cards. Like, yes, there's a vulnerability here. Yes, this is exploitable, but it's only exploitable because we both have good cards. The fact that like my deck cannot operate because I have 2 Rishon Ports, 4 Treetop Village, 4 Wasteland, etc. Well, wait,
that's not
play
bad. Yeah.
Okay. You play a turn 2 cantrip. Like, your card also says draw a card on it.
Yeah, Stone Rain draw a card is pretty good.
Yeah. So what do you mean? With the one-sided Arbitrage draw a card every time. Like, I literally needed the land in the one matchup, and when he played Salvador, I'm just like, I'm just tapping the Rishon Port, right? I have no choice.
Yeah.
We got to rock and roll here. So,
well, that's a good reason to play 0 Rishon Port. It's a good reason to, in your Landstill deck, consider playing 0 Fairy Conclave, play more Coastal Tower. I really like, I think that just playing like a lot of Wasteland is good. And yeah, too many Treetop Village. it's a give and take, right? Because Treetop Village lets you be a beatdown deck, but
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk about like superficial versus kind of deeper analyses. But before I get there, one thing I'd say, I don't know if it's only a two-dimensional matrix, right? But if a question is like power level versus exploitability, like obviously Fairy Conclave is a much more powerful card than Coastal Tower, right? Like,
it's like not even true, right? Your deck has like Rathagon in it. It's like
how hard.
The power of the card is that it casts Rathagon. Yeah. No, I guess I understand what you're saying, but I'm also just like, it just breaks down immediately when you pull in the context of like, oh, my deck has like 14 white sources or like 13 white sources, but like 100 cards that cost like WW. Or like if I ever want to cast Plowshares and cycle Decree of Justice in the same turn, or just like if I get Rishton ported, I need 3 white sources. Like for Rathagon.
The not so thing to me is like Andy Vollmer's like strategy in so many matchups is to go
board in Thawing Glaciers.
Thawing Glaciers Dust Bowl, and like that's so bad against Sabo's Web, right? Like, what if your opponent was just like, I'm just going to side in Sabo's Web?
Well, the matchups where Dust Bowl is good are against
it does not overlap with.
So what he does is he boards out Dust Bowl if he's playing against the Sabo's Web deck, which I think is a good adjustment. So I actually played Landstill, if you can believe it. And again, I just want to remind everyone, if you take Landstill into your favorite deck editor and just do like arrange by mana value, it's just like 4 Plowshares in the 1 column, not a good start. In the 2 column, the entire Restic deck. Yeah. And then in the 3
incredibly variable card power.
Yeah.
You've got Impulse, you've got Counterspell, but you might also have Mana Leak and Prohibit, right?
Yeah.
You have Standstill, which Andy Vollmer says he plays 6.
Yeah, he plays 6. So I actually, when he said that, and he's like, we shouldn't be hedging our bets with Standstill, right? We should be going all in on Standstill. When he said that, I was just like, that's a good way to do it. Like, that's how you should think about it, because
otherwise, that's hard against Dreadnought, for example, right? You just jam the Standstill, they have to break.
It's just a great card. Like, I think that you can do better with your Standstill decks if you think about, like, if you stop trying to hedge against Standstill, so you stop playing 3 Standstill, and you're just like, yeah, exactly, like, play all the Dust Bowls. If you recall, of course, Landy still liked to play 3 Dust Bowl main with 1 in the sideboard, and I thought that was I brought that into my Standstill list, and I think that you should consider playing Quicksand, although Quicksand does kind of suck, but the other...
A minute ago, you were like dissuading me from playing a much more powerful card so that you could cast Wrath of God, and you just want to add more colorless sources that locked under Sabo's Web.
The idea here is that you play your Coastal Tower so that you can afford Quicksand in your colorless source budget, and the reason is purely because against creature decks, if your opponent just goes, on turn 2, I'll play a Withered Wretch, then you can just be like, I'll play Standstill, right? And then, instead of just drawing outs to Mishra's Factory, you're drawing outs to Mishra's Factory and Quicksand. So it makes it a lot better for you to have 4 Standstills in your deck against creature decks. So it's something that I wanted to explore. And then the other thing that you pointed out, of course, or continue to point out, or that we're going to continue to point out, is just that, like, man, Impulse is just like super bad. And like the innovation of the Tidestill deck from LobsterCon 2025, from Chicken Sauce, the younger kid, I forgot his real name, was to play 0 Impulse, because he was just like, it doesn't do anything, and I never have time to cast this. Although he did play AK, so it's sort of the same difference. But regardless,
it's not. So AK is just Standstill, right? It's like Standstill with a lower downside.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just a little bit tough because all of the cards are just like, Landstill is like one of the most miserable decks to play, because you are losing for such a long time, and
you're winning.
You're just like losing the entire, like, people say that control decks are winning for a long time. That's not true at all. Like, you're losing, and then finally you cast that Wrath of God, and you stabilize at 2 life, and you Decree of Justice for 6 tokens, and the game is over. You're losing for like 19 turns.
I was thinking about my Substack, right? And I'm like, this is like a whole like circle of thoughts I had this week. And one of them is just like, I don't have another Lego arbitrage article in me, right? Like I have like half written a bunch of basketball analytics articles, and I'm like, oh, this sucks. This is just bragging about my son. This sucks. I'm like, why do I have such a high standard for a Substack that has like 100 followers and no money to do?
I'm just gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna hand it to you on a silver platter. It's obvious, and it's the most obvious thing ever. But you just tell people what Magic was like, and what the Pro Tour was like, and what GPs were like, and what the people around were like, and you just pull some random stories from your random past of like the hotel rooms and the grinding and the decks and like what they look like now or whatever, because there's all these nostalgia like stories, YouTube videos now, and they're popping off and they're crazy, and the thing is, we as Magic players, we're losing our history. And so if you just want people to read your Substack, just tell us what Kibler was up to in 1990 whatever, at like whatever, like tell the tie-dye and Tiva story again, because like this is something like, these are things, there are like a trillion stories that the second that you say, the second that you just like even say something adjacent to them, to somebody like Lan or John or Dan OMS, you just like mention some name, you mention whatever, they just like pull in this whole thing, and you should bring people who completely missed the boat on that into that world, because it's fascinating for us.
Yeah, I don't know if I want, I mean, maybe, I don't know if I want to write that. It's funny because I get tapped on the shoulder to contribute to those things fairly often. But, the Kibler thing you're saying, I just remember I got to the boat one year, the Pro Tour LA was always on the boat. And like every single year it was on the Queen Mary. I got to the boat one year and I'm like, I'm just going to get a good night's sleep. Right. That was my goal. I'm going to get a good night's sleep before this. And then, but I was young back then. But then there was like a high school prom and I ran into Kibler and I'm like, guess we got to chase girls in prom dresses tonight instead. Like but that story doesn't go anywhere,
Yeah, that story goes on your Substack. Just make sure that you take out any parts that don't hold up well to the modern landscape. How we tape to tell yourself like this.
Tape it how it's time.
I'm not sure if we should keep talking.
Dude, man, come on. Everybody can read my old articles. They're still up on the internet. Oop. That Winner Chicken Dinner was one of the reasons that was the article that when I won with.
All right, you can tell stories that don't that would be reasonable to print today, but I'm just some of it is like
would never get printed today, right? Like that thing is so many things in the middle.
It doesn't have to be that. Apologies for my computer notifications in the background to people listening on the podcast. I'm on a new setup, got to get things tweaked, but no, I mean, like, I think there's just so many like idiosyncrasies about like competitive Magic, and I just hear things like, Lan was just telling me that like, when Magic came out, it was just like Gen Con just grinded to a halt because everyone was just on the floor just playing Magic, right? And like, I think there's so many interesting stories about like those kind of early times. And then there was kind of like one of the things like, I've been meaning to ask John one of these days at Movie Club. I'm just kind of like, did you ever have to work? Like, did you ever have a tournament coming up and you're just like, oh man, like, I don't know, somebody's going to be there.
I'll say it. Right.
It's going to be tough. Well, let me finish the thought. I was like, did he ever like been like, oh man, this Pro Tour is going to be a tough one. I better hunker down and study. And Lan was just like, we just played because we just loved playing the game. So it wasn't like so much like, oh, like we got a test for this Pro Tour. It was just like, we're playing Magic because it's fun. But
so in 2000, the year that John won U.S. National Championship, he already had what you would imagine to be
a Hall of Fame career.
Yeah. So he had achieved his first Pro Tour top 8 in 1997 with the Prison, and the Pro Tour that Randy Buehler won. He won Pro Tour New York in 1998. He had what would have already been a Hall of Fame career by 2000. And I want to say there were many occasions where John was about to fall off the Pro Tour, right? And he eventually completely fell off the Pro Tour prior to being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He hadn't played competitive Magic in probably 2 or 3 years at that point. But going into 2000's national championship, I don't think John was qualified for the next Pro Tour at that point, or the Master Series. The Master Series was coming out. So I just won the grudge match qualifier, and then I won or top four regionals, not one, but top four regionals with the Napster deck. So we have a playtest session. It's just like a lot of the really good players in New York, John Finkel, Chris Bakula, etc. And we sit down, and I can't remember. Somebody's playing White Weenie, which is like 100% match for Napster. It's almost inconceivable for them to be able to win. It sure loses. Okay. And then somebody plays Mono Blue deck. John's playing Napster, and I go, you have to go for this. And John's just like, you're wrong. I'm like, John, trust me, you have to go for this. He doesn't do what I say. He ends up losing to a Mortal, right? And I'm like, this is the only play. Isn't that doesn't mean he says? I walk him through it later. So I think we lost. I think Napster had a sum total of 2 losses in playtests at that point. And he goes, this is obviously the best deck anyone's ever built, right? We're not testing any more standard. And then at 0-2, he lost to an unlosable matchup and then lost to just because he didn't listen to me, right? And I can't remember. I think I was just like, you have to play around this because he'll treachery you out if you don't, right? And that's what happened. Lost to a Morphle. So we just never played any more standard. And instead, John hyper-focused on limited, went undefeated in the limited portion, which qualified him for the first Masters event. And then, which was at that Nationals, and then, the rest is history. And then the second story I'll say about John ever having to prepare, we played a lot prior to Pro Tour Charleston, which we talk about fairly frequently, which is John's first time back to the Pro Tour. He used his Hall of Fame invites to bring the OMS brothers with him. John had a disappointing individual outing, but got the fire back. John won the next Pro Tour, right? So he won Pro Tour Kuala Lumpur. And he said he only played against one competent player.
And it was Guillaume, yeah.
It was Guillaume, right? So I don't think he ever really had to try.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically like the thing I'm so curious about, because people these days, they're doing their testing teams and they're hunkering down, and I'm just like, it's like, did you just, he just walked in and had the gift, I guess. But it's just like one of those fascinating things. But you could write a whole Substack article on Napster. I think a lot of, at least the pre-modern guys, know that Napster is a deck that had Vampiric Tutor, and some of them even know that's why it's called Napster and whatnot. But
my Gibbler named it.
Okay, so but why, like, and then what? We dug up that article from Dave Kaplan that was just like, I replaced the Vamps with Ristic Tutor. Like, yeah. He's probably like 19 years old when he wrote.
But what's amazing is how worshipful Dave Kaplan is of me at this era.
Many such cases of people start worshipful of.
This is not our presentator. Dave Kaplan is such a more accomplished player than I am right now. And he's just like, he's so worshipful with me at like 15 or whatever when he's writing this article.
Yeah, but he's playing Ristic. It's just too much for me. But
he would scoff at playing AK instead of Impulse. But
yeah, but he's a jammer. What can you say? But yeah, I would.
The jammer.
Yeah, he's the jamming. Jamming is named after Kaplan. It still just tickles me so much that it is just called Kaplan Jam. Like the sub archetype is called Kaplan Jam. What are you playing today? I'm playing Kaplan Jam. So it's just like. I know nobody else in the history of the world has just tried to put a Dreadnought on the battlefield like sooner than other people.
Such a sour experience of Kaplan Jam, because I played mono blue Dreadnought decks in consecutive leagues, like leading up to the league that I won. And I played Polar, and I think I 306'd the one of Polar in New Year's. And then I'm like, I'll play Kaplan Jam next time. But I had played what was then Dave's new list. So he gave me his new list. I'm like, so this is the Kaplan Jam with a capital K, right? Like, and this deck has no breaks. It's all gas, no breaks. So like when I say no breaks, I mean, There's no ability to come back in stage 3. Like if your opponent gets the advantage on you, no, this deck just jams, right? So one of the matches I lost, my opponent like cast 2 Gerard's Verdicts on me, and I just can never do anything. Like every other Dreadnought deck in the room can like find a Flash of Insight and some AKs and put it back together. No, this deck jams. Okay. And then another match, like it also has no powder keg, right? So there's no way to interact. It just jams. And I'm like, this thing is awful. And I 0-3'd that league. So I think I never played the Kaplan Jam that like Dave used to win Sacred Torch to, for example. I've only ever played the one that he gave me that I don't know if he ever played. He's just like, this is my new list. I'm giving it to you, Mike. And I'm like, all right, Dave, you're the Kaplan Jammer. This shit never jammed, or I jammed and then they had a plow, right? Like, and then there's just no recovery, right? Like, there's like, just jam. And then they're like, no cards left. There's no way to recover in this deck. It just, but you might have a daze.
I mean, that's the beauty of, tuning the Dreadnought deck at this point really does feel like just like you've kind of got this lever and it's like this speed lever, it's just like that, the third and fourth copy of Impulses, you pair back, you can put Reality Ripple in, you can put Intuition in, but you cannot have AK, you can just do all these things, and you could probably just like, sometime in the future, you're just going to be able to like put your deck list into Claude, and Claude is just going to tell you like, this deck combos on turn 3 this percentage of the time, and this deck combos on turn 6, but it has like quadruple protection, and like you're just going to be able to like design, your Dreadnought deck like just much like my red sauce analogy. You can just do it completely to taste.
You can add some sugar, you can add some more, peppers or whatever. In Dave's defense, he had a lot of really interesting ideas. I think he had probably like, he's like, I don't know about playing Brain Freeze, but I think about playing 4 Brain Freeze, And he's just like, I'm really thinking about 4 Brain Freeze.
I actually think that like, and this actually goes all the way back to Raska. Of course, all roads lead back to Raska. He played 3 Brain Freeze in the version that took down, or at least got second place. I think it took down the Spring Fling, was kind of like the first moment for that deck. And I wanted to share that the kind of fun thing that I talked about Raska. So Raska was in the house, and when Magic Online came out, he was pretty against it because he didn't like the idea that the format could start evolving very, very quickly, right? That people would just start testing things and brewing things and breaking stuff and like whatever, and he was just like, it's like kind of like walking next to like a superhighway where people are just going to be like rushing past him and whatnot. And I got to, at the house, I was just like, hey, so how about that superhighway? Because honestly, after Magic Online came on, like there's been a little bit of brewing, and there's been like some interesting, there's definitely been interesting decks that have come out of like the Magic Online scene, but it doesn't really feel like, oh my God, Premodern just like completely transformed. We kind of, we basically agree
there for a second.
Yeah.
Have there been transformational moments in the metagame for you? I feel like it happens all the time.
Well, like I would just say that like, okay, so, an example of things that are happening online would just be like, now there's this green-white madness deck, So and then people play crazy brews as well. So
my first PSS, right? Like the decks in my first PSS are largely pretty bad, like
replenish, burn, and blue-green stasis with Gaia's Blessing.
I mean, I played arguably 3 bad decks. I played Replenish, Rifter.
Oh, Rifter and blue-green, blue mono blue stasis with Gaia's Blessing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and my Gaia's Blessing deck was not well thought out, right? So, I famously made it in a cabaret. The after deck submission was already due. But like if you look at Aaron Dix's configuration, for example,
burn zombies and
Fluctuator.
Fluctuator,
the
yeah.
Fluctuator deck was bad, right? Although it was a great deck for some matchups, right? I think his Fluctuator deck was what my Rifter deck wanted to be in a lot of ways, right? But it wasn't
a deck that contains cycling cards.
Yeah, I mean, like, like if you think about it, like, here's a deck that has such lopsided matchups, right? Like, my Rifter deck is going to be good against Burn and Elves and Landstill, right? And I think his Fluctuator deck's is really good against like Burn, and, I don't know, Goblins or whatever. But like BK's Rock deck with Mesmeric Fiend, obviously his land packs deck.
He would still play Mesmeric Fiend today. I mean, it just so happens that he just went to 4 Crows and Tusker instead, but I think he would happily. He played Mesmeric Fiend in his Survival Rock deck.
Yeah, like that Mesmeric Fiend in Survival of the Fittest is a very different animal than Mesmeric
Fiend in Pernicious Deed. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but like, I think Tom's decks were pretty good. He had mono blue, Dreadnought, but like by and large, what the hell was Mano's deck? His Burn deck was like randomly.
This is 2022. Like, this is a lot different. Yeah.
What I'm saying is like the decks. Obviously, this is before the land tax ban, but like the decks are not that good. By your PSS, which I believe is the next year, right? I think the decks were substantially better. It's just by and large. And then in the PSS that we were both in, the one that you beat me in the top 4, like one of my decks was bad, right? Like 2 of my decks were pretty good, and one of my decks was just bad. They're still bad. And
so the point is, lots of bad decks have been played
going into the top 4. Okay, so
because you didn't play your bad deck.
I played my Burn deck every week. Okay, so and I didn't lose any games. And then Smith's ingeniously banned my Burn deck. Right,
he found the line.
He found the line. Right, so but what I'm coming around to is like if you look, Nick played Terrageddon, and I snap banned Terrageddon because I didn't think I could beat it with any deck. Right, I'm like, oh, this deck is crazy. But I'd never seen a Terrageddon deck before. Now Terrageddon is a deck that is the topic of this podcast, and a deck that I played at League this week, But it wasn't even in the conversation yet at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely felt more like it was like a volatile time in 2024. And it certainly was, sharp listeners will remember that Javi Lugo top forward with a Terrageddon list that had Thornscape Apprentice in it. Also the playset of Meddling Mages, I believe. And
wait, doesn't he also first strike your Terraborn in there?
Yeah, first strike your Terraborn. Yeah, you gotta have it.
I didn't want to play that guy. That guy seems like the best.
Well, okay, so my base point is that obviously the format changed. I just don't think like the MTGO was like a huge sea change in the format, or that it was like
certainly MTGO was not a sea change in the format. I'm just saying there have been transformations in the format, right? Like,
yeah. I would never say that it hasn't transformed. I was just saying that, like, the fear was that Premodern was just going to get solved right away. Then now that we have regular Premodern, and the answer is honestly a little bit the opposite. Like now, like if you just like want to play a deck and share it with the world, like you just go and you check the results, and there's just like people are brewing crazy stuff. Like recently, Dream Halls top 8'd an event. Sam is always brewing. He brewed his like Rector, Future Sight, Decree of Silence deck. I obviously love building decks that contains their own Mox Diamond in all the colors.
Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you saw somebody playing classic Croatan? I mean, like Meddling Mages and Mox Diamonds and Meander, Plowshares.
Oh, I mean, those just me. So I played the throwback list, just for fun,
like Air Force Ones, like
exactly. Like I had, I think I played like 2 Swords of Plowshares main, or no, I played 0 Swords. Yeah, I played almost the exact same starting 60 of the first tournament that I played.
The one that you won at Game.
Yeah, the one I won. Yeah, and then I just made some tweaks to the sideboard, right? I just like played Engineered Plague instead of Pyroclasm because I didn't want to Pyroclasm my mages. But I was just like, yeah, can you really play a Grotog deck with like 0 Swords of Plowshares main deck? And like the answer is like, honestly, it's kind of, yeah, still. Like it's not really that bad.
But look at the burn decks, Lanny. Like the burn decks, think like when I started playing, people were really up in the air and they were like, I don't like.
People were fighting over, they're just fighting over a bauble, and now there's zero.
Everyone's got to 4 baubles, and now nobody's hanging on any baubles, right? Like it just went like a complete 180 on that. And I think that
so much so that I watched a streamer playing against Burn, and the Burn player played Urza's bauble, and the streamer just went like, "Oh, that's an interesting. Why? What does that do for their? They just like were like trying to figure out why Urza's bauble is in the Burn deck. But just like, why is that there? Like, was it so it just they're like just for Grimlothomancer? Like, interesting. It's just like, oh, you have no idea.
Didn't Rich Chase? I mean, maybe he didn't send it to you. I think he sent me a Burn list. It was like 21 land, 3 Urza's bauble, and I'm like, what is this? And he's just like, I know you don't believe in math. However, I wanted to maximize the number of 7-card hands I could keep.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know, he had like,
man, part of the Urza's bubble, oh my God.
It's like, and 21 lands, I think. That thing, and like he had a lot of 1-drops, but I think he won the monthly or whatever that he played it in. So I had to argue with Rich Shea.
All right. Well, I actually got to wrap it up here. And it's great chatting through. What's the title of this episode? I feel like it's just
let's go with the Terrageddon deep dive.
Yeah, right. Terrageddon, get distracted by whatever pops in our mind. But that is what you sign up for with White Colony Podcast. As always, thanks for listening. We love you. Long live Premodern. See you out in the streets. Keep making decks. Keep trying hard at tournaments. There's a big tournament.
Should I
play Grotog?
Play the Repulse? Should I play the Repulse?
No. Play Perfect Gat. Play Perfect Gat and just play the Armageddons over the guy's blessings.
I was going to ask you that. I like the guy. Well, nobody's playing Dreadnought in League right now. That's the thing.
Yeah, the blessings is just for Dreadnought, and then like if somebody happens to be playing Iggy Pop, like you really show them. But yeah.
Do you ever just like side into blessings against like Terrageddon and then just plow all terrible?
Yeah.
Like that's
easy.
Like a great strategy.
Yeah. Against Terrageddon and Landstill, you just cast the front side, and like it's just good, like boom.
All right, well,
or you could go.
Maybe I'll play one guy's blessing and one Armageddon.
Yeah, you could do that. Get the worst of both worlds.
Oh, Lanny, that is Terrabad.
Get the worst of both worlds, but why not? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't sound that bad. Like casting one guy's blessing just to pick up a couple threats.
I wanted to play highly imperfect Perfect Gat, like with like all like new printing cards.
Yeah, you can get a lot of new printings into the deck. Yeah.
I have like a second place set of real AKs, and I'm like, it's too much effort to get that
I think I have. Actually, I've got too many. I'm like drowning in AKs. I think I have bad AKs because my unsleeved Gat is like mostly new border, but. We'll follow up on all that. Definitely, I don't know, try Grotog. I have like a Google Doc primer, which is pinned in the Grotog channel of the Premodern Discord, but I'll make like a...
You just put
primer.
Discord? I don't go to the public Discord.
Yeah, I'll put it in ours. It's pretty, it's like, just like I mean, basically, I haven't like finished this thought, but like the end of the thought is just that, I think that Gat is a control deck. And
you don't know how to play control.
I know, it's weird. Well, it's just like my expressing myself. Like it's my expression of control, right? Like it's a control deck that just like sometimes kills your opponent on turn 7, But like I just think about all the games that I win where like
wait, I never finished this thought. I need to say it. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
All right.
So here's the thought that I had for my Substack. There's never going to be another Who's the Beatdown. And I think that one of the follies that many of the editors I had over time was like they expected me to write the Who's the Beatdown again. And I got like in the entire time since Who's the Beatdown was written 27 years ago, how many articles have I written that rival like 3 Gears, how to win a PTQ, maybe like finding the Tinker deck? Not a lot, right? Like fewer than 1 out of every 5 years, I'd say, right? Here's one I got. And I've tried, I think finding Tinker is pretty good, and 3 Gears is pretty.
You could write the you could write the Who's the Beatdown book, by the way. Like you just expand it into a book.
Here's one. It's the title is something along the lines of control is control is strategic, beatdown is opportunistic.
Yeah, sure.
And like the whole thing is like, I think everyone at a certain level of play, if you tell them you have to be like the beatdown or the control, they understand from a conceptual basis the idea of accruing advantages. And like one of the things that people were asking me, I'm like, oh, how do you like this Wild Mongrel Terrageddon deck? And I'm like, well, it's not that different from the one I was playing before, but you have 4 Wild Mongrels instead of like Abundance and Gaia's Blessing. Abundance and Gaia's Blessing are cards that generate a ton of margin, right? And Wild Mongrel is a deck that you might win the game faster, but you have negative margin, right? Like I discard my hand to Wild Mongrel, I might get blown out by a spell, or that's the thing that might happen. But what ends up happening is people understand this thing like, okay, I want to strive to be the controller. Like in sideboarding games, very frequently, one or both decks that was maybe forced into the beatdown roles try to be the controller after sideboarding. And they do that by like accumulating resources. And they're like, I'm gaining margin. Usually it's cards in hand. Sometimes it's some other thing. However, what I think people don't understand, including people in almost every matchup that involves a control deck, which is all the matchups, is that at some point control turns the corner and it kills you very quickly, right? Like I found this in standard a lot, where like I'm casting cards like Flagstorm.
Well, yeah, it's how the cards are designed now. Yeah,
yeah. So like, and I'm like, okay, I was just it's just like you were saying with the land still thing, right? I'm losing. I am losing in air quotes for 10 turns, but losing in this case is I'm accumulating card advantage and losing.
Well, he's putting lands on the battlefield until you can cycle the create.
All of a sudden, now you're dead, right? Like, boom, 2 turns. It's a clock, and to create just thing. And that is the thing that people don't necessarily have. And I think it's hard to describe. But like, control has this essential thing that it doesn't want to be control indefinitely. At some point, it wants to turn the corner and kill you.
Yeah. Unless you're playing Sam's deck.
And I think like Doomwake actually, I don't know, not Doomwake, Bosch actually said it pretty well. He was doing a Premodern stream that I watched. And he's just like, the thing that people don't understand about playing against Burn is the way you beat Burn is killing them. Make it so they can't play anymore, right? If people have this whole idea, there's like, oh, I'm going to accumulate advantages, I'm going to outlast the Burn deck. But Vader refighting the 3 gears. Burn wins the long game, right? Like, you think you're fighting advantages, but they get you because they have the 3 gears.
Yeah, and also like your deck doesn't contain like there aren't any like Dream Trawler type things that you can do, or like whatever, like Sphinx's Rev. Like you just have, there's not cards like the only card in Premodern that plausibly works here is like Ivory Tower, or Smokestack. But yeah. I think that's a great concept. Yeah,
get them.
Yeah.
Get them by getting, not by like, oh, I have so many resources, like,
yeah.
Like that's like when I played Burn right before LobsterCon, my opponent probably thought he was going to win when I 5-0'd the Factor Fiction against him, and then I'm like, I'm going to name instant.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, what does that do? And I'm like, maybe you'd like to read it.
All right, well, put it on your Substack, my guy, and we'll be all sure to read it. And then until then, love Spy Colony and love Lanny and Mike.
Bye.
Game over.